our theme today is be aware. And the reason why is because you guys are the new targets. Everybody thinks they're not a target because we're small, but you have to realize the nets are cast in very large amounts. They go after millions of people at a time. So everybody is a target for whatever sum of money they can get from you. And there is a big difference between what most people consider to be a safety net like antivirus or something, a commercial, like a product like Norton or Malwarebytes or some of these other products you buy as retail. These are not cybersecurity products. These are antivirus products, and they're geared around really stuff that's technology that's 20 years old. So you're going to really see what's happening and why they're doing it as a result of that. So let's talk about where the marketplace is right now. So this covers the span of the last 4 years. We have 2023 data coming in, and I'm going to show you a little peek of that in a minute. But there's two big numbers I want you to notice here. The dark blue bar here represents basically the number of attacks in thousands in 18. This other bar here represents the average remediation cost during that time in thousands. So you can see here that these costs were really quite different. We had about 150,000 attacks, and the average remediation cost was about $25,000. Now we can see in 19, this changed. This is where ransomware really started to get bad. We started to see some really big jumps. In 2019, people started taking some precautions, backing up things, doing a little bit better at that. We saw attacks come down, but what was really disturbing is remediation costs tripled. They went up to 88,000. This is the average cost of a remediation to remediate a break-in per incident. So not good news on that side. And this was because ransom started to go up. They started to go after more business targets. Now in 2020, we started to see something new happen. We started to see the attacks you can see relatively a little bit lower, but we see the remediation costs again have doubled. They're up to $177,000 per remediation per incident. And this is because they started doing something different here. They started copying data before they actually made themselves known. So now you have this new double-edged sword. Not only have they locked you out of your information, but they've copied it first. So now they can blackmail you with the possible release of it, which introduces a whole number of problems for you, like compliance, PCI, personal data compliance, HIPAA compliance if you're a doctor or a dentist or in healthcare of any kind. It also reputation and all sort of third-party, what we call third-party liability costs, possibly being sued by people that get a breach as a result of information they got from you. So all sorts of things started happening with this. And in 2021, we saw big results with this. Attacks are up now. Remediation costs have jumped up to 402,000 as an average in 2021. And this trend continues into 2022 with the same type of things becoming more sophisticated. Tools are getting better. We're seeing more actors jump in, and we're seeing a new thing called ransomware as a service, which means I don't actually have to be a hacker. I could just be a disgruntled employee who isn't happy with the company, happens to maybe saw the administrator put in his password. And so I contact one of these groups, I pass this information on, and they get a piece of whatever, they get like 25% of whatever they do in exchange for that. And they go after that as a service. And these are companies in North Korea, Pakistan, Afghanistan, Russia. They operate just like a business. It's absolutely incredible. We saw attacks go up to 422,000. We saw the average remediation cost at the end of 2022 jump to 977,000, just under $1 million. Absolutely crazy numbers. Now, if you want to really see where this is going and the long-term financial impact of things, these are a couple of figures you should know, and this is information from Statista. These are the costliest types of compromise, business email compromise being the largest. 9 out of 10 hacks start with phishing. And this is how Microsoft, this is how a lot of the big ones that have happened, MGM, Caesars in Vegas happened about 3 months ago. All this stuff originated with business email compromise. So we're seeing a lot of that all the way down to everything from tech support frauds, credit card fraud, but you can see These top four, everything from personal data to business email being the top four. Now, this is the alarming number. This number is in trillions of US dollars. This is the global impact of crime due to cybercrime or cybersecurity. And we're looking at 2023 this year, they're predicting 11.5 million at the end of the year. By 2027, they're predicting this number will be as high as 23 trillion. This is not going away anytime soon. It is only getting worse. And as a person who goes to a lot of these FBI and the conferences where we talk with government agencies and we talk with the larger companies about how to combat this stuff, the end user is our biggest problem. How do we educate the end user? How do we get them to protect themselves from themselves? So we're going to talk about some ways in which that happens. One, you want to do things, it's a multifaceted approach. Right here, this is based on information from people like us, MSPs. 94% of hackers go right past antivirus software because it doesn't do anything to stop hackers. Now, if we combine that with email filters, we drop that percentage down to about 73. Patching and keeping your systems updated, you can see we dropped that down to around 64. Now, ad pop-up blockers in browsers are so important. They're on by default. This actually helps quite a bit. And then cybersecurity training and other things that we do like monitoring bring these risks down even further. But it's a combination of all these that lower your exposure, not just one thing. And that's what we have to get people to actually realize is there's more than one thing that stops cybercrime. So let's go on. I've got a lot of information to cover. We're going to talk about one of the biggest misnomers in our business, and that is that Dropbox, Office 365, G Drive, that these are viable backup means. I'm going to share something with you. You probably already know. A lot of people don't. These are file sharing services. Even though they offer to back up your information, they are connected to your system in real time, which means if you can see them, so can the hackers. That means that these will be exploited almost all the time. So if you think that these are things that are protecting you from hackers or they're protecting your data, you're absolutely incorrect. Okay. And this is just from 2017, this figure. I actually need to update it. The numbers haven't changed in these statistics very much, just by one or two numbers here and there. But the reason why these three are the big ones are because they make up about 96% of the market share in that space. Now we're going to talk a little bit about how hackers get in. This is why hackers get into end users and why antivirus doesn't work. So there's really four new methods that are the most popular. Phishing emails being the most popular, the most effective. These are emails that pose as other things in order to fool us into thinking they're things they're not, to get us to go to websites, to put in our passwords, to click on something that isn't there, bring us to an infected website. There's lots of reasons. Clickbait pop-ups. You guys have seen these, the little pop-ups that come up in the corner and they say, oh, your computer's infected. Click here to remediate or to clean your system. That's actually being powered by your web browser, not by the system. And most of them are from products or advertising products you don't even have installed on your computer. But people just see the name brands. They see Norton or McAfee and they think, oh, it must be real. And they click on these things and they bring them to an infected website that does actually infect their system. URL phishing. This is something a lot of people really aren't as common. It isn't as common knowledge, but these hackers are doing this. They are actually buying domain names that are misspelled words of popular domains like Google or Microsoft Office. Or for instance, one of the most popular ones was for a long time was one for speedtest.net. Speedtest.net was a very popular site to test your website speed, your internet speed at home. But if you went to the .com, it's actually being blocked now by a lot of places as a dangerous site because it was owned by a hacker. It would instantly try and infect your system. And he owned the .com version of it, not the .net version, the legitimate version. This is very, very common. And they count on people misspelling in order to do that for popular sites. The other thing is Google results. Now, a lot of people don't realize that Google results on a whole, okay? When you look at a result page, it usually brings up something in the right-hand side, which is a paid advertiser that's local looking for restaurant or a provider or, you know, a babysitter, whatever it is you're looking for. All right. The first 5 or 6 results to the left of that are actually sponsored ads. They're paid for. People paying for those keywords to be populated. They have nothing to do with their actual search term. Those are things that people have paid to come up under those words. And then your actual results start at the bottom part of the page. Anything that doesn't say sponsored by. A lot of people don't realize this. They click on a lot of the sponsored by links, and hackers have gotten wise to this. They are buying keywords. People looking for cybersecurity, IT, they are buying these keywords and they are catching people off guard with fake sites. This is, I couldn't make this stuff up if I wanted to. And they count on you being busy, distracted. They make these things very realistic. Sometimes they will send you phishing emails from friends because they've infiltrated your friend's mailbox. And I mean, I don't know about you, but I've many times have I gotten an email with an attachment for like an invoice or a spreadsheet or something from a friend who I know I would never get that from. Of course, you don't want to open those. You want to delete those. You don't even want to ask. 9 times out of 10, they are not legitimate. Pop-up lookalikes, that goes back to that clickbait pop-up thing we were talking about, where it's actually the web browser powering the pop-up and not an actual program. And how they get you is by using these first things, counting on these first 2 things, is they get you through browser exploits, out-of-date systems, unpatched software on your systems, and everybody, the most common is ineffective protection. People thinking that Norton, McAfee, Malwarebytes, these products are actually going to provide a level of protection against them, and it doesn't. So they exploit these things. And what I mean by that, and most people aren't aware of this, there's what's called zero-day exploits for Windows, for Mac, this could be for Firefox or Chrome or even Edge. There are dozens of what we call zero-day exploits. Those are broken things in the program or exploits that they don't have fixes for yet. And so they don't publicize them because they don't want hackers to know about them. It doesn't mean hackers won't find out about them and exploit them, but as they do, then they put priority on fixing those problems. And that's why we have system patches every week from Windows, and why we have patches from Apple, and why Apple is starting to get more proactive on their security. Because I'm going to tell you right now that ransomware is what we call operating system agnostic. What that means is there is a form of ransomware that runs on Mac, Windows, and Linux natively. It does not just run on Windows. That is a myth. So don't think for a second because you're using Mac that you're safe. Nothing could be further from the truth. So it's just, you guys have a lot smaller percentage of the market, where Windows has 95% of the market. Mac is smaller, but there is stuff written for everything now. And the browsers tell the end user, these hackers, they tell the hackers what to send you because they know what operating system you're using. Now, we're going to talk a little bit about phones just for a second, because I don't know about you, but there are actually 20 times, there's actually more than that now. The figure's actually been updated. It's closer to 100 times as many mobile devices and tablets as there are computers connected to the internet. And this little device right here, your phone, is the key to the kingdom. Many of you have seen in recent weeks and months where they have come out, and Apple and Google have found apps in their stores that have been basically were malware and were stealing passwords and bank data. And there were millions of downloads for these programs, but they went undiscovered, and they are now having to really lock down their stores. I don't know about you, but this is not a toy. A lot of people put games on these things. They put things they don't need. I only install the apps in which I need to function on a phone, because for my business, my personal life is all on this device. And if it gets hacked, then that person has access into both my things. So you have to be very, very careful about what you put on your cell phone as well, and your tablets. So we're going to have a little, we're going to kind of show you, and I wanted you guys to have something to take away from this besides just me telling you about what's happening. I'm actually going to give you a real quick tip on 3 tall tale signs of how to determine whether an email is a phishing email or not. So we're going to look at some actual emails from my inbox. So this one right here is a legitimate email. This is the email you can trust. Why? You always want to look at these addresses right here. These addresses are very, very important because they can't fake this part of the address. This part of the address, you're looking at the part that comes after .com. This is obviously from Home Depot. Don't worry about the second part, but the primary part is what's important. This is from homedepot.com. It is sent directly to my email address. It's not CC'd to others. There's no attachments. So everything that's in here is a proper email. Another one for you to look at is this one. A lot of people get fake play receipts or something you paid for and you're going, or you bought a phone, things like that. There's all sorts of examples. This is also another legitimate one. And you can tell this by, again, looking at the domain. I can see this came from Google. It is addressed to my email address and nobody else. And it is for a service I recognize. And if you are ever unsure about anything like this that comes to you about this, do not use the links in the email. Go to your actual application, go to the website like Netflix and look for yourself. Do not trust the links in the email if you are uncertain. And the reason why this is you need to exercise zero trust when it comes to email. Absolutely zero trust. So let's look at some fake ones that are very common. So the Camp Lejeune thing that went around, everybody knows about this. It's been all over the news. So I'm going to show you two telltale signs. There's three of them. This email hits two of them. One is the email address is obviously not from any kind of an attorney or anything like that. You can see this is just a illegitimate email address. The email address, the two, is actually hidden. It doesn't even say who it's to. So this was obviously out to a bulk. And then I have an attached email file. Now, this email file in here, if I was to open this, contains a script that would connect me or download a payload or connect me to an illegitimate website. This is what you don't want to do. Now, until you open this, you're not in any danger. So just delete this email at this point. But two of the three criteria for a phishing email are met in this. So this is a good example of a phishing email. Another one is this one right here, and I see these a lot. ADT, protect your home and family, get a free gift card. This hits all three of them. One, I got some whacked out email address this is from. This is obviously not from ADT. And you can tell that in the string. Now, if you cannot see this information in your email, in your client when you're looking at it, just run your mouse over it and hold it there for a second. It will show it to you. Some people only have it programmed to show you the friendly name. That's the part that's in the brackets there. Just hold your mouse over it. It'll show it to you. I can also see that there's some email variants here. They've used some variants of my name, and I don't have an AOL address. So this was just one they got lucky on out of several they tried to hit for me. So this is obviously a spam. And then on top of that, I've got an attached HTML file again that contains obviously some kind of malware. So this is hitting all three criteria: the send from, the send to, the CCs, and the attachments. So this is obviously a great example of a phishing email. Delete it, get rid of it. As long as you don't click on anything in here, you're fine. So let's talk about the scary thing. If you get hacked, you've just been hacked. Now what? All right. Most companies have not planned for this event. Or if they have, usually it's inadequate. You need to report. Number one, you're required by law to report to the FBI any kind of breach or ransom. They have to know about it. They have to determine whether they are sending your IT company a forensic pack or if they're going to come out, if it warrants them coming out themselves. All right. Also, and this is a situation you don't ever want to find yourself in. Our motto in our company is it's a hell of a lot easier to fix the airplane before it crashes, not after. Prevention is the only way to really avoid this problem is having good prevention. So maybe you've got backups and you think you're safe. Well, this doesn't account for the fact that they've probably stolen your data before they even made themselves known to you. Okay. So now you've got to deal with the fact if you have any kind of compliance, you're dealing with personal information, social security numbers, HIPAA, PCI, any of those compliance issues, you're looking at fines. And like with HIPAA, that's 5,000 per incident. So for every customer you had hacked, if you meet any other compliance issues like PCI, you're storing credit card information, that again gets costly. I think it's around 1,500 per incident. So if any of that information gets out, and then you also have third-party liability that the clients can come back and sue you for losing their data. Now, some of you may have cybersecurity insurance and believe you're covered. That is not always the case. What you don't know is cybersecurity companies, and I'm talking about insurance companies, are in the business of collecting premiums. Okay. I'm sorry, this is actually a little out of order. That's my fault. I should have reviewed that. This was before that. But anyway, they are basically there to collect premiums. In the first couple of years, cybersecurity insurance was a thing. They got handed. I mean, they literally got it handed to them, and they were losing money hand over fist. They have now built in a lot of precautions, and let's talk about what they don't cover. First of all, they have exemptions in that your company has to prove that employees have attended cybersecurity awareness programs, and you have to be able to prove that they have attended them and passed them. Your company has to prove that it has a proactive security policy and a plan to deal with cybersecurity in case you are hacked. You have to prove that the breach was not a state actor or affiliated with a state actor, because if it is, it's determined to be an act of terrorism and most insurance won't cover it. If it's determined that the breach was caused by a company contractor, an employee, an ex-employee, won't cover it. All these things are reasons insurance companies will deny a claim. And we have proved so many people wrong on this, it's not been funny. So want to invite you guys, the financial impact, the last thing here, the financial impact is huge. I cannot emphasize this enough. It's what would you do if you came in and we just remediated a small restaurant, a very high-end restaurant, actually. They got 2 locations over in City Center. They're a very high-end restaurant, but 10 employees, 5 computers. They basically took over their Office 365, prevented them from being able to do payroll, order supplies, actually send email. They couldn't process payroll. And they were down in like that for 10 days before we got them clean and got them to a point where they could actually do stuff again, got hackers out of their system, got them remediated. But what would you do if you lost 10 whole days of business? You couldn't cut payroll. You couldn't send email. You couldn't respond to clients. Those are things you have to think about, your loss of income to your business during that time. What does that cost you? And these are things that people aren't thinking about until after they happen. So we invite you to come join the AIO community group. This is a scannable she put up for you guys, and it goes to our group. It's a group where we do every other week. We do a live thing with a different topic. Last week we had a guy on, Chase Norland, talking about liability and compliance problems if you get hacked. The week before that, we had a big thing on the difference between cybersecurity and antivirus. We're off until next year, but in January 4th, we've got one of the guys from the Big Five coming in, and he's talking about, he's going to show you guys how to build a cybersecurity response plan, which is now required by the IRS to do if you do taxes, payroll, anything where you're interacting with the IRS or insurance. These are things that are now required. So that's the end of what I've got for you today. There's so much more, but I've had to condense it. So this is normally 45 minutes condensed into a very short time. So we're going to turn this over for questions.